Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out a brand new PNSO release. This was just released not long ago, and this is the brand new version of Doyle the Triceratops. We have had previous versions of this Triceratops, actually quite a few at this point, but this is a brand new resculpt with a very nice looking paint scheme. Again, nothing overly flashy, but it looks nice and natural, pretty much what I would expect a ceratopsian to look like, so that is also a plus. And we also have the skull down there in the left hand corner. You can see that is included. This is a museum series release, so that should mean that we'll have some fun extras included as well. As far as the box art goes, you can see the front is literally just the image of the Triceratops and the skull. There's no other images, no logos, nothing here on the front. If you come around here to the side, you can see Dream and Vision for Children. The back sports just some information on PNSO. If my camera would focus on it, wow, that really does not want to focus on that. And there we go. Okay, welcome back, camera. And then up here on the side, you can again see Doyle the Triceratops, 1/35th scale scientific art model, PNSO, Dinosaur Museum, again, telling you that it is the museum series. And then some more information over here, and I'm certain if we flip the box up, yeah, gonna be the same stuff right there. So I'm very intrigued to see this. I've been waiting quite some time for it to arrive, as the Los Angeles Postal Service was intending on keeping it forever and they just didn't want to release it. But thankfully it is now finally here, so let's pop this open and take a look at it. And that's exactly what I expected. So as soon as we open it up, we've got a very cool kind of a pamphlet here, which has a gigantic PNSO logo on the front, and then again, Dinosaur Museum, Creative Activities and Children's Space Solution, Doyle the Triceratops Scientific Art Exhibition. So that tells us that there's going to be some fun Triceratops-related stuff here on the inside. And then again, here on the back, you've also got the PNSO logo there that is holding the contents in. So let's try to pop it open without destroying that sticker. It's never going to happen, and it actually did. Wow, look at that. That never happens. I almost always rip the sticker. So we definitely have a ton of stuff included in here, pretty much like we usually do when it comes to this kind of a release. They just flood you with awesomeness. So straight away we've got, and this is actually similar to the last release of the museum series when we had the Iguanodon. We had these same similar kind of cards that would probably give us a whole bunch of information on Doyle. So we'll pop these out. There we go. Now we got them. So once you open that up, you can see that we've got some very interesting cards. Again, that starts to tell us about Doyle. And then I'm pretty sure, yeah, see, as you run through, you just continue to have tons of information, like pretty much anything and everything you could ask for when it comes to learning about a Triceratops would be included. As you can see there, you can see the titles of everything that we're looking at when it comes to these cards. So full, absolutely full of information are those cards. Of course, we're not going to read them all or anything right here. That's something for you to do if you purchase the model. And then here on the booklet that's included, you can see some really nice images, as well as, again, the PNSO logo. But I really love the skeletal reconstruction here of the Triceratops, also sporting those kind of quill-like appearances up there on the top. Very interesting to see that, as the actual model itself does not have that. But then as we open this up, again, you start to get some information on PNSO, exactly what is going on with them, as well as a very nice image here, black and white kind of an image of the Triceratops model we are about to take a look at. And then as you continue through, again, you get a plethora of information yet again. When it comes to these PNSO releases, they really want to make sure that you learn as much as possible about the dinosaur that you are buying, which I think is definitely a very, very cool trait on the part of PNSO, because not only are they continuously giving us really cool prehistoric models, but they aim to educate as well, which is awesome. That is some beautiful dinosaur toy photography right there. I don't really recall PNSO doing too much of that in the past, but that is fantastic. That looks about as lifelike and realistic of a Triceratops when it comes to dinosaur toy photography as it gets. And then you can also see again some images here on the inside of the Triceratops, as well as the skull that is included here. And then as we move along, more images of the Triceratops, again looking absolutely beautiful. Of course, this is the prototype we're looking at here, not the actual factory-released version. And that's one thing that people seem to always continuously forget. Like when they get the figure, they'll say, oh, well, the paint job doesn't look as good as what the prototype images were leading us to believe. But what company do you really get that from? Very, very few. Most of the time, almost always, when you get a figure from a company, the prototype, of course, is going to be looking beautiful. So the paint job of the prototype is painted by an actual, paleo artist. The paint job for the figure would be painted from a factory. So they're not going to be able to capture the paint job perfectly, but I honestly feel like PNSO gets them as close as possible when it comes to a prototype to factory released version paint job. And again, so far, at least what we see here, the Triceratops looks absolutely awesome, and I'm certain the figure itself will be no different. Again, we've got images of all kinds of stuff here, and then a ton of images here of the PNSO artwork sporting a lot of ceratopsian artwork as well. And then again, there's just more and more and more stuff to look at throughout the course of the pamphlet here, this little booklet, so something cool to also look at. And then I'm thinking these are probably going to be, yes. So then you also get some blank sheets of paper so that you can draw yourself some dinosaurs if you choose to. They usually have quite a few of those included. I don't know if these are all. Yeah, I think these are all just the sheets of paper. This one here on the top actually might not be. No, that's definitely not. So I did pull a couple of them down that were not. There we go. I think we've separated them now from the, papers to draw on compared to what else is included here. And then this is going to be a really nice image of Doyle, as well as some information kind of showing off the evolution of Triceratops as we know it, which is pretty cool. Absolutely adore the old school interpretation of the Triceratops. And this states the earliest reconstruction of Triceratops by Charles Knight, so that's pretty darn cool. Love those vintage versions of dinosaurs. And then the next one is a really, really nice image of the Triceratops. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, showing off how beautiful the frill of a Triceratops can look. Again, PNSO overloads you with incredible artwork. Could you imagine if you took every one of these museum releases and then framed all of the artwork and put them up on the wall? Man, that would probably be one of the most amazing things to see in person. And then as we continue along here, we have yet another one, and this one, if I don't drop it, has an image of a skull. This is actually the skull of a Titanoceratops. Head frill there, showing off basically what the frill looks like with the holes in it. So that's pretty cool as well. And then as we move along, we've got, I wonder what other ceratopsians they'll show off in this pile of artwork. So we've got another beautiful image of Doyle right here, the horns of Doyle the Triceratops, which looks really cool. Again, more gorgeous artwork on the part of PNSO. I honestly think they have probably the nicest artwork I've ever seen. And then here we have the images showing off the growth of a Triceratops, showing how the horns can alter as the Triceratops grows. And then the next one is some Triceratops skulls kind of battling each other. So that kind of shows off potentially how Triceratops would have, confronted each other and battled a little bit. And the stuff's falling over here. What else do we have here? So let's turn this one around. This one shows off a really, really beautiful image of Doyle yet again. Look at the really cool paintwork of this one, like right there around the eye. Very colorful. I actually really quite like the coloration of that Triceratops, but again, more fantastic artwork. The next one is another image of Doyle, this time feeding, so that's pretty cool. An image kind of showing off the diet of Doyle. Very appealing looking coloration again on this one. Wow, that is so nice as far as the Triceratops goes. They are always giving me inspiration when it comes to different paint schemes I can apply to figures eventually when I paint some. And then the final image here shows off the growth of Doyle the Triceratops, yet again showing off a few different ages of the ceratopsian right here. And actually we have another one here. I thought that was the final one. So we've also got an image of the Tyrannosaurus facing off with Doyle. So I guess that would be Wilson maybe, I don't know. But again, absolutely incredible artwork for sure from PNSO. And then again, they just completely overload you with so much stuff, really give you a lot of value when it comes to your set that you buy. Wow, that's a really big poster there. Showing off, again, this is the part where we can create the scientific art exhibition for our Doyle. And if you were to frame all of these up, again, you can pretty much create your own museum-style exhibition, which is pretty cool. And of course, I'm going to have to pick this up and put it down every single time I pull one of these out because they're usually pretty big. And then this one shows off the different sizes as far as what the Triceratops would look like in comparison to other animals like a human being. We've got a mammoth, and we've also got ourselves a nice big Tyrannosaur up here, as well as some modern animals. So a lot of really cool stuff here as far as the sizes of a Triceratops goes. And then we've got yet another nice big poster here to take a look at, and this one is just an absolutely incredible image of a head of a Triceratops. Look at that. Again, they really give you your money's worth when it comes to these museum sets. Not everybody, though, likes this. Some people would just like to have the bare bones release. So something that maybe PNSO could work on in the future would be like the museum release and then kind of a bare bones release. I don't know if that's something they would be interested in doing. They've kind of done that in the past where they released Wilson the Tyrannosaurus in the museum set with lots of stuff, and then they also released Wilson in like a bare bones release for a cheaper price, which was pretty cool. Maybe something they can eventually do, but again, I think it's worth it to go the extra mile and purchase the museum sets because you just get so much stuff. It's honestly beyond incredible just how much stuff you get, and this really tells you pretty much every ounce of information that you could possibly inquire about when it comes to the skull and the different parts of the skull of the Triceratops. So again, educating you. And then the next one here is showing off again more of the skull of the Triceratops from the front view and the rear view of the skull of our Triceratops. So we can really see why they had included a skull replica in this release, because they're focusing quite a bit on the skull of the Triceratops. And then, oh, this one's looking great already. Wow, that's a really cool looking one. Look at this image of a Triceratops, absolutely overloaded with those quills all over the place. Very interesting and different take on a Triceratops than I often see. I'll sometimes see the quills kind of running down the back of the spine of the Triceratops, but I've never seen it quite so overloaded with quills. That's really cool. Very different looking, and again, more gorgeous artwork. Boy, there's just so much in here. And then the next one is... oh, this is a great image. I love this one. So we've got an image of a family of Triceratops, obviously in defense mode here, to help protect the young here. We've got the young kind of centered in between, and we have the older Triceratops all circling around to protect them, something that we think that Triceratops probably did when it comes to protecting their young. So that is definitely a very cool image there. That actually might be my favorite one of this set so far. And then the next one looks to be absolutely unbelievable. Okay, well, now I don't know if that one's my favorite or if this one is, because this one is fantastic. Look at this image of a herd of Triceratops just kind of moving through this valley-like area. That is just as drop-dead gorgeous as artwork gets. Honestly, that doesn't get any more beautiful than that. So we'll have a very hard time trying to compete with that one here when it comes to anything else included, which we're almost through it all. I think we've got 2 left. And then we have another image that I think this one's beautiful, but not quite as nice as the last one. But again, fantastic artwork of some more Triceratops maybe heading to the watering hole right there in front of them, looking for a nice little drink to stop themselves from being dehydrated, because I'm sure it was nice and warm then. So the final one is not going to let me open it. Oh, wow. All right. So I don't know. I mean, because this one is just incredible. I really don't think I could pick a favorite. Obviously, this shows the asteroid coming into Earth that unfortunately ended the dinosaurs, and this poor Triceratops here does not know what's about to hit it. So at the same time, the beauty of this image is off the charts, but the sadness is as well. But again, fantastic artwork from PNSO. Another set just completely overloaded with incredible extras for your Triceratops. And then we've got our skull replica, which is definitely very nicely done. I'm actually quite impressed with the paint that's included on it, because they've done a pretty good job of adding in many different tones of color, which may not be too visible right now from your vantage point, but it definitely looks really good here in hand. And then we've got our Triceratops, the Doyle the Triceratops, and that is a really nice looking Triceratops. Like, they have done an excellent job on the overall paint application. Of course, we've seen the sculpt in all the prototype images, so I knew the sculpt was going to be beautiful, but you never can truly tell how nice the actual paint application will be on the figure until you get it in hand. and I must say they have done a very good job on this one, and I've seen some people posting some negativity toward it, again on a few groups that I frequent on Facebook, and I just don't understand it because it looks great to me. It really, really does. It looks absolutely gorgeous as far as the coloration goes, and I feel like they've done a fantastic job, again, of replicating the Triceratops from that prototype to the factory-released figure in the absolute most high-quality way possible, because, of course, the figure is not going to look exactly like the prototype. That's just not going to happen, and again, this is absolutely gorgeous. Like, if you stumbled upon this figure in store with a never having seen the prototype before, you would be blown away by how beautiful this Triceratops is. And honestly, I definitely am right now. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at this right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Triceratops, again, the overall appearance to the head sculpt is fantastic. They have done a tremendous job on the overall detailing, the very fine detailing, many different varying sizes of scales, as well as a lot of difference as far as the overall skin texture goes. Like, you could see really large scales leading from the nasal horn down here toward the eye. They get even larger as you get there under the eye in the cheek area of the Triceratops, but then it gets really fine as you move out here closer to the nostrils, and once you reach the nostrils, the skin detail is extremely fine, and you see that same appearance for the lower jaw. Again, very nice, very fine scaling for the majority of the lower jaw, but then as you move back here, you can see it increase in size a little bit again. And another thing that I can say I really love about the Triceratops is just how nice the articulated jaw looks, because not often when you get a ceratopsian does the articulated jaw look, natural. I feel like with ceratopsians, it's a tough one because a lot of the time it looks out of place, kind of, when it comes to an articulated jaw, but PNSO has done a great job on this one. Like, one thing specifically you'll see quite often when it comes to an articulated jaw in a Triceratops is the inability for the lower jaw to completely close, but that is not the case here with PNSOs. You can see that jaw is completely closed, and if I can open it up again, it's a little tough to grasp there. Now you can see it's open, and it looks, again, very nice and natural. Nothing looks out of place. So that is a huge plus as far as this Triceratops goes. I think they've completely nailed it as far as an articulated jaw on a dinosaur like this goes. You can also see that the beak of the Triceratops is very nicely done detail-wise and paintwork-wise. It has kind of a glossy look to the beak, which is definitely what I would expect to see. And you can also see the fine detailing as far as cracks and crevices go. Very realistically done when it comes to the beak in both the upper and lower jaw. Also, you can see kind of like a nice hook in the beak, which is pretty cool. The nostrils are also sculpted and very nicely highlighted with a darker brown. And then again, on the inside of the mouth, you can see that we have a very nice, very realistic gloss coat in there, as well as some beautiful detailing as far as the texturing to the skin there on the inside of the mouth. There's also some nice paintwork applied to it, as we have like a nice variation of pink, but there seems to have been a nice dry brushing over top to highlight that area. And then when you get inside the mouth, you can see the tongue in there. Again, that gloss coat continues to look great. You can also see the teeth of the Triceratops in there as well. And you can see that on both the upper and lower jaw, and it's all very nicely painted. Nothing looks sloppy on the inside of the mouth that I can really see, which is impressive considering how small those teeth are. And the articulated jaw is extremely smooth. Like, that works really, really well. Sometimes you'll get the articulated jaw when you close it, it'll kind of drop a little bit or anything like that. Not the case with this Doyle. It works perfectly. As you move up into the eye, you can see the eye is painted with an orange, given a black pupil. The eye is also perfectly glossed. Some very nice kind of creasing and skin wrinkling there around the eye. And the scale detail continues to look fantastic up here in that area. Again, so many different varying sizes of scales. And the paintwork is honestly gorgeous on this Triceratops. They have done a tremendous job of adding many different tones of color, going above and beyond, honestly, to give it a very realistic appearance. You can see different shades of lighter and darker browns, even like light yellows, and again, just a ton of color variation throughout the face of this Triceratops. As you lead up into the frill, you can see that the scale detail gets extremely fine, like even finer than I think we've seen anywhere else on this head sculpt, but you also see some super nice coloration up here as we have some lighter tones of, again, like yellows and sort of like some off-whites, as well as some variations of almost like orangish browns, which looks really nice. Again, adding a nice element of flashiness up here on the frill of the Triceratops without being overly flashy or anything that could potentially be deemed unrealistic. I really feel like it's a nice naturalistic tone of color. All of the tones, actually, not just not just a single tone. Like all of them look great and very, very nicely done. And we also have like that kind of orangish brown that circles around the kind of bumps here on the side of the frill of the Triceratops, which looks really good. And then, of course, one of the most appealing aspects, I think, and definitely one of the most defining aspects of this Triceratops is the horns of the Triceratops. And look at how huge they are. They are absolutely gigantic, which I really, really like that look for the animal. And then again, you can see some really cool kind of like lines or like ridges that pick up right here that run along the early part of the horns of the Triceratops before leading out, and they are like a nice light tone of brown, and then they transition very smoothly to a dark tip, which highlights the horns very nicely, makes them really realistic. And honestly, the paintwork of this is fantastic. I don't know what people were thinking when they were complaining about this, but as far as mine goes, here in hand, this thing is just drop dead gorgeous. All of the paintwork is so smooth and precise, and again, very nice, very natural transitions between colors. It looks honestly mind-bogglingly nice here in hand. And again, the same deal over here for this side of the head. You can see all of it looks great. Very nicely painted eye, perfectly placed eye, and super smooth transitions yet again. As we move down here into the underside of the throat, you can see some nice scale detail down here, as well as a little bulkiness to the throat. You can also see like some skin wrinkles and stuff and some nice tensing in the neck as you move up a little higher. The throat in general is kind of elaborated right there. As you move up here to the side of the neck, you can see again some more skin creasing and everything going on. They've applied a very nice dry brushing with a black that really highlights the scale detail, and they've added in some lighter tones of like yellows right there. And then as you move up to the back, you kind of get like a light brown, almost like an orangish brown in certain parts that, again, really shines through all of that dry brushing, really pops the nice light coloration from underneath, but also pops the scale detail with that darker dry brushing. You can see the back of the frill also looks great. They've done a very good job of adding in some nice light coloration back here. Again, super smooth transitions back and forth between those lighter tones of color. And they've also applied some nice light dry brushing, like really light dry brushing here to the back of the frill. And you can see that shows off the scale detail back there very nicely as well. As you move here along the Triceratops, you can see the spinal column is nicely elaborated in the sculpt. And on top of the very nice large scales that we have for the majority of the figure, you can kind of see like some osteoderms poking up here and there throughout the course of the Triceratops. Again, some more creasing right here at the top of the neck. As we move into the body, you can see the shoulder blade there protruding from the skin a little bit. And as you move down into this front leg, you have gorgeous skin detail, as you can really see like the skin scrunching up here due to the position of the Triceratops as it's walking along. I think PNSO excels when it comes to showing off skin detail on their figures, because they honestly have some of the most highly detailed sculpts that you'll see anywhere. And again, the muscle definition is very nicely shown in this front leg. That leg just looks so big and bulky and intimidating. As you move down throughout the course of the leg, you have some really beautiful color variation, as we have like tones of darker browns, even orangish browns, and again yellowish browns here on the back of the leg. As you move down into the foot, you have some nice creasing there in the wrist, and then the nails are painted very nicely with a dark brown, given a beautiful gloss coat. The toes are all very nicely sculpted as well. And then as we move back up here into the stomach region, again, you can see how the skin is scrunching up because both legs on this side are pushed into the stomach region, really scrunching that skin up very nicely. You can also see how smooth the transition is from that yellowish brown up into that darker brown. And you even have like a little variation of green showing up here and there. Again, just adding so much color variation. And then again, as we move up to the top, I absolutely adore the orangish tones of color that are included here underneath the scales. Like you can really see how they've applied that so that it kind of creeps in and out of all of the scales. It looks so flashy and so extremely realistic. You can see the hip bone is very nicely defined right there in the sculpt, as is the muscle definition. That is a massive thigh back here on the rear leg, as is the calf. Again, an extremely muscular looking dinosaur. You can see the kneecap is present there on the front of the leg. And then as you move down into the foot, some more nice wrinkling there in the ankle. And then again, another beautiful foot sculpt with some very nicely sculpted toes. Fantastic paintwork for the nails, very precise, just like we saw on the initial foot. And then as you move up here into the tail, you can see the skin stretching off of the tail. Again, really nicely showing that long stride forward for that rear leg, really stretching the skin off of the tail. And then again, some more beautiful color variation as we lead out the length of the tail. with different shades of lighter and darker browns and that very nice dry brushing. As we have that nice short Triceratops tail, we have a little bit of a curve to it as well. If you run here along the underside, again, some very nice, very fine scale detail for the tail. You also have the cloaca present right there, and then as you move up here on the underside, you can see we have some fantastic looking scale detail down here as well. And then there's a nice, seems like they painted it with like a nice dry brushing kind of, so it has like a lighter brown popping through the scales, but we still have that nice light brown coloration, that kind of like a tan for the underside. Again, the sculpt is absolutely incredible on this Triceratops. And then over here, again, you can see more of that tensing in the neck. You can also see more of that beautiful coloration as we have like a shade of brown here in the lower part of the throat. Again, that yellowish brown right there. This side, we have a much more visible amount of stomach because the legs are now spread apart over here, whereas on the other side, they were kind of closer together. So you can see a lot more of the stomach region over here. You can also see how the skin is now stretching off of the body here with the rear leg kind of wrinkling here in the front, though, again, due to the walking position of the Triceratops. And you can see more of those osteoderms, as well as some fantastic scale detail throughout. And more really nice detailing as you move down the front leg, as well as the muscle definition. Again, that front leg of this Triceratops just looks so extremely intimidating, so big and bulky. And then you move down into that foot sculpt. Again, a very nice kind of a slight tilt to the leg over here as it's walking along. Very nicely sculpted toes, and again, the nicely painted nails. And then you move up here, again, you can really see how much so the leg is elaborated right here, and the muscle definition as well as that hip bone on this side is really, really visible. And then you lead down the rear leg. Again, this leg is pulling back a little bit, so you can see that movement nicely shown. And you can also see how the Triceratops is taking a step as this foot is just leaving the ground on the rear foot. Again, just capturing this moment in time perfectly as the Triceratops is walking along. You can see the kneecap again on this side, as well as that very large bulging calf muscle and the beautiful foot sculpt. And then we lead up here again to that nice short Triceratops tail, which continues to look phenomenal. So this is an incredibly nice Triceratops, quite possibly the nicest one that I have in my collection. And then we've also got the skull, and the skull is also very nicely done. I feel like the only thing that could have made it a little bit more appealing would have been the lack of a gloss coat, because the gloss coat isn't my first choice, usually on dinosaurs, but at the same time, it also makes the skull really stand out because of the shininess of it. But you can again see how nice of a job they've done on the detailing aspect, like it really added like cracks and crevices and again imperfections in the skull, like it is a real Triceratops skull that has been excavated, as well as again some nice paintwork as we have variations of browns. We also have a nice dark wash that's been applied. You can see that we have like some variations of tans and even like some very, very slight hints of like almost khakis in certain spots. And they've captured all of the detail perfectly. Even the teeth are actually painted down there, but even the teeth are very nicely sculpted out there. You can see the teeth look great. Again, a very highly detailed Triceratops skull and an absolutely awesome addition to this set. I would love it if they would keep doing this with the different museum releases and give us, replicas of the skulls of each and every one of them. But that is a gorgeous Triceratops skull and a great little extra to this set. So as far as a size goes on our Triceratops, for a length, actually let's just move them over a little bit. For a length, you are looking at from the tail to the horns, if we can keep this still, you're looking at just shy of 10 inches. Actually, I would say probably about 10 inches or about the 25, closing in a 25.5 centimeter mark. And then for a height, obviously the highest point is going to be the frill, a little under 4 inches or 10 centimeters. And then for the skull that we have here, if we set this up, you're looking at in the length department about 3¼ inches or about the 8 centimeter range. And then if it were positioned up like this, we'll just leave it like this. It's the way it wants to lay. So we'll just measure to the top of the horn. You're looking at about 2 inches or 5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Doyle the Triceratops, giving you a good idea that this scales right in there at that 1/35th scale size range that they stated on the box. And again, also showing you that it's pretty much the exact size that I honestly expected it to be. And hopefully these figures here in comparison will help to show you that. And then for another comparison, I turned the Triceratops around so we could get the more dominant side here of the Papo one. But there is a comparison with the Papo Triceratops in comparison to the PNSO. You can see that they are roughly, in that same size range. Obviously, the Papa one isn't quite as nice as what we have here with the PNSO version. And then we've also got the older Doyle the Triceratops, who doesn't like standing too much for me anymore. But you can see the older Doyle the Triceratops in comparison to the newer one. Again, both are right there in that same similar size range. So showing off the fact that they haven't differed the size in comparison to the older one to the newer one, which, could be a cool set of figures to have displayed together. And then we've got ourselves another fan favorite Triceratops, as we have the Eofauna version. Again, showing off that the Eofauna is very similar in size to the PNSO, but I feel like it might be slightly smaller, but not too much, honestly. They're very, very similar in size yet again. And then we've also got the Iguanodon from PNSO, a recent release, and in fact, the most recent prior to this Triceratops. Again, giving you a rough idea of the size, showing that both the Iguanodon and Triceratops definitely sport some pretty impressive size overall. And the final comparison that we have is a comparison that I feel like many people probably want. Actually, let's open the mouth and we'll put them in an attack position right there as he's biting the horn of our Triceratops. But we've got Doyle and Wilson here in comparison to each other. And look at that diorama. That is just absolutely awesome. Pretty much the perfect way to go when displaying this Triceratops, I feel like, is with a nice attack scene from Wilson here on the Triceratops. So again, hopefully this final comparison will help to give you a good idea of the size and show you that this is definitely a very nice Triceratops in every aspect. So this brand new Doyle the Triceratops release from PNSO is another fantastic release from them, and honestly, I don't think that they're ever going to stray from fantastic releases at this point, because every single release that they have had, as long as I can remember now, has been a home run, and they continue to have home runs with each and every release. Again, I did state earlier that I know there are some people that were, making some fairly negative comments about the paintwork of this Triceratops, but having it here in hand, it absolutely baffles me as to what they were talking about, because it looks so nice here in hand. Like, the paintwork, the sculpt, everything is fantastic. The sculpt is extremely highly detailed. Whenever you get a PNSO release, you're going to get a model showing off the absolute most detail possible for the dinosaur, the position that it's in. Everything is going to be as highly detailed as you're ever going to find, and that is exactly the same case with this Triceratops. But again, the paintwork is the one thing that, many people will make comments on when it comes to PNSO releases, and say things like, oh, well, it doesn't look like the prototype and stuff. And again, I've stated this many times in the past, you really need to remember that a prototype is painted by a paleo artist. The figures themselves, the factory release figures, are painted by a factory. It's never, well, most times it's not going to look exactly like the prototype. It's just the way it is. And again, you have to expect some decline in paint quality from the prototype to the factory release figure, and I feel like PNSO is one of the best companies when it comes to providing an extremely appealing looking factory paint job on their figures, because their figures always have so much life to the paint, so many different tones of color added, and really small details when it comes to their paintwork, like slight differences in tones of color, nice washes to highlight the detail beautifully, really nice dry brushing. Again, there's so much that they include in the paintwork of their figures, and you can see that here is pretty much present everywhere on this Triceratops. Super smooth transitions back and forth between colors. You also have an articulated jaw, which is really cool, something you don't always get when it comes to a ceratopsian. And then on top of that, you have all of those incredible extras that we had taken a look at the beginning, and a super cool looking, very lifelike Triceratops skull replica. So as a whole, this is a fantastic set yet again from PNSO, and a very high recommendation from me. So if you are interested in this set, I will include a link in the description to the PNSO Aliexpress store, as well as the PNSO Amazon store, where you can pick this up for yourself. So make sure you check the description, go buy this beautiful Triceratops, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.